No, I think it's going to be good. Yeah. Yeah.
We are live.
Yeah.
What? We're live on YouTube. Nice.
Mhm. YouTube and I believe Facebook as well.
Facebook now?
Yeah.
Nice. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
I thought I said, yeah.
Are we're good to go?
Yes.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. Today is Saturday, February 13th, 2021. Welcome to our weekly webinar. Today's topic is... I think it's going to be good. Yeah.
We are live. What?
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Topic... We had a little backplay there, I guess. Today's topic is the new alpha male, and I am your host, Tolu Adeosun. And so this, like I mentioned, this is our weekly webinar, and I am the assistant secretary at Voice of Men 360. I'm also a registered social worker. That's what I do for a full-time job. And it's my great pleasure to host this weekly webinar. So thank you, Voice of Men 360 and the team for giving me this opportunity. As I mentioned, we weekly have webinars. We bring experts from different fields to discuss on particular topics. We want to create awareness by sharing valuable information with our community because we believe it'll be useful in some ways to people. Before I introduce our special guest today, I want to give you a brief introduction of Voice of Men 360. So Voice of Men 360 is a nonprofit organization founded in 2020 and is based in Toronto, Canada. Voice of Men 360 is an organization that was born out of seeing the tremendous needs of boys and men and the need to step up to support and to help them in many areas of their lives. We are a part of International Men's Day, which is a global organization, and International Men's Day follows 6 pillars, which is the overall well-being of boys and men. And it's been serving 21 years in 90 countries around the world. And it's been people have joined together to do various activities regularly. So our topic for today, like I mentioned earlier at the start of the show, is the new alpha male. And our guest speaker will be discussing about mindfulness, men's health, energy, lifestyle, relationships, masculinity, and how society views it. So our special guest is Walter Filejza. Sorry,
Yeah.
Did I get that right?
No, you got it good. That was very good.
Okay,
very
good. Thank you, Walter. So he is the co-owner of Vitality Health and Wellness Clinic. His journey started in high school. He was into athletics. He was one of the top football players in the country at his position and had schools south of the borders interested in him. Then an injury took him out of playing the sport he loved, which at that time seemed like a tragedy, but now he sees it as a blessing. Walter took some time and did some soul searching and realized his true passion was helping others. So we have something in common there. He pursued massage therapy and from there continued to add different modalities such as craniosacral therapy, acupuncture, personal training, BIE, which is bioenergetic intolerance elimination, embryology. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. First time saying that word. Pardon? Iridology. Sorry. See, it's I learn something new every day. Right. Blood analysis and life coaching. Okay. Whew, that's a whole lot. So Walter discovered that his definite major purpose was to help and inspire others to reach optimal levels of health. So that's their mental, emotional, and physical and spiritual. And through the creation of Vitality, Health, and Wellness, feels that his purpose will be fulfilled. So let us welcome our special guest, Walter Filejza. Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Oh my gosh, what a mouthful. Thank you for joining
That was a lot. You did a very good job, by the way. That was a lot.
Yes, but it sounds like you've been busy and up to a whole lot of things.
Absolutely.
Wow.
I have. And it's so funny because when you have just read that out loud, and I was like, wow, that is quite the journey. And it's funny when I think back at that time, being that young kid, thinking like, I want to be that, like, I want to get that free education. I want that scholarship. I want to play at that high level. And for a sport I loved unconditionally, because I learned so much from the sport of football. You know, teamwork, hard work, leadership, all these type of qualities. And I learned from other great players and other coaches and all these key things that I use in today's world outside of sport. So
Mhm.
You don't know it at the time, right? But life is always teaching you if you're paying attention, whether it's
Yeah.
people around you, your teammates, your coaches, your teachers, your parents, and it could be someone you never think would teach you something. But I'm so open to learning, and that you become way more aware over time as you become wiser,
Mhm.
right? So, at that time, it's like that. I thought that injury was the end of it. I was like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm not going to live my dream. But then I think, wow, it led me to a total different path, which I totally believe is aligned with the higher version of myself.
Wow. So
Yeah.
let me take us back. When you say football, let's just clarify because we have an audience from all over the world.
Yes.
Are we talking football, like American football? Or are we talking soccer
Yeah.
football?
American football. I did play
Okay, good.
soccer too. I did play
Okay,
soccer.
okay.
I ran track and field and played basketball. And what was the other sport I did? Basketball. Yeah, basketball,
You
track,
played it
and
all.
soccer. Yeah, yeah,
So
quite
you
a
were
few.
quite
Yeah.
athletic growing up, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So in your childhood, you used sports to kind of like it was like an outlet for you. You really enjoyed it, and then you realized that you were very good at American football.
Yeah. That was my passion, even as a child. Because my
Hmm.
dad, even my parents, like my dad didn't really care for sports, and the sports he did like was soccer and then hockey.
Right.
He didn't care for football. I'm the one who had that passion for it. And I
Okay.
don't know what it was. I don't know if it was that kind of gladiator with the big helmets and the big pads and
And get
that
into
rough, yeah, the
yeah.
like that. I was like, oh, I
Yeah.
loved it. And even at
Okay.
that time, I didn't really fully understand it because football is essentially a game of chess with really big people,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
very strategic that people don't really understand. So when I
Hmm.
watch that game, like the sport of football, it's so intrinsic how I watch it because I'm watching every aspect, right?
Mm.
And you have so many different form of athletes that you need to all be on the same page. And when you're
Hmm.
on the same page, that's when the magic happens. It's probably the most team-oriented sport ever, even though like
Yeah.
quarterbacks get the most
Yeah.
accolades, right? So again, I carry that into my business. So I might be the leader and all that, but this machine I call Vitality Health and Wellness doesn't run
Hmm.
smoothly if we're not all on the same page.
Mm. So it's powerful because so I want to go back to what you said. You said when you realized that your career, you were no longer going to be able to pursue football when you had this injury. I take it the injury was from playing, right?
Yes.
Okay. So when you realized that you weren't going to be able to play football, you had to change your whole path. Now, can you walk us through that? Like from when because I'm guessing there was probably some depression. I've worked with an individual that had a similar thing, injury happened. He couldn't pursue basketball like he wanted to. There was a lot of depression that settled in. Can you walk us through that and what caused, like, how did you find this path that you're on? Because you kind of gave us like a brief summary, but I feel like
Sure.
we're missing some key points there.
Yeah, no, that's a great question. For myself, at that time, I thought, wow, I was down. I didn't realize how down I was because I'm just
Mm-hmm.
a very obviously like you guys just met me, but I'm a very happy-go-lucky guy, and I've always been like that. So anybody who knows me is like, oh, Walter's happy like 95% of the time.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that point, it's like, wow, because you can only see as far ahead of you as you can, right? Because life is like a maze.
Yeah.
You can't see around the corners. So this thing I perceived as my goal gets taken away from me.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow. So now I have no clue what's going on. Like I have no clue what I want to do now.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of lost at that point. So it's just like it's a scary time. So you feel a little down, you feel like, and it's kind of part of your identity as well, right? I'm this athlete, I'm this person, I'm a driven
Mm-hmm.
person, all this. Now it's like, but I put all my energy into that sport.
Right.
Now it's like, okay, well, what do I want? What brings that passion out of me beyond the sport? Because I love the person who I am when I played it. So now at that point, I have no clue, like
Mm-hmm.
no clue. So
Mm-hmm.
that's where I took that time to, I didn't go to school. I just worked for a bit and start to really reflect and connect and be like, hey, what is it that I really want to do? And then everything started happening slowly, excuse me. And it came into like, I was like, okay, I first went back to school. I took marketing. I finished it, but I was like, and then I worked at a casino
Mm-hmm.
for a couple of years, and again, great money, and I could have moved up in that company if it was just strictly about money. But I was like, that's not the goal here. I realized it's not just about money; it's about living my purpose. And what makes me feel excited is helping people. and helping people, especially when it comes to sports and health, right? Initially it was sports and the health part.
Mhm.
Now it's not so much sports. I don't work with all athletes. I work with all kinds of people. But at that time, because I still had that passion for sports, it led me down the health path. And
Okay.
that's when I went back to do massage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So that now I'm starting to understand more. So
Painting the picture, right?
yeah, no, and this is good because I always like to try to understand a bit more about my guests and what led you to the path that you're on. And
Sure.
so what I'm understanding is that you recognize that, okay, I don't know who I am anymore.
Mhm.
The very thing that I loved was taken away from me. And I think this actually really ties into your topic today, the new alpha male, and some of the things that you're going to talk about. So the very thing which was like you were kind of this like macho guy and all this stuff was taken from you. You no longer were that athlete.
Mhm.
And then you had to know, okay, who am I? What am I going to do with myself? What is my purpose? So you decided to take some time off before you went to school. So you weren't just going to be studying amiss and not satisfied. And then you realize, okay, let me do this marketing thing. You did it. You went through it. You got a job, but then you recognize that there's more to life. There's more. I want to do more. And so you decide to pursue massage therapy.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So
100%.
thank you for sharing that journey, because I think it's always important for people to understand why you do what you did, why you did what you did, how you did it, and what led you to where you're at today. So let's go back to the main topic today. So you said that there was some 7 things that I listed that you're going to talk about, 7 different areas, right?
Yeah.
So you mentioned I mentioned, not you, mindfulness, men's health, energy work, lifestyle, relationship, masculinity, and how society views it. Can you kind of talk about these things? Maybe we can start with mindfulness and tell us more about that.
Sure. Is it okay if I talked about like why I even got into like that whole idea of all those things? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
Here's the thing. So I would say about a couple of years ago, I saw a lot of my male clients coming in with so many of the similar issues. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, all of them feel tired. All of them are not healing properly. All of them have lost their drive for overall life. A lot of them have lost their libido and their kind of connection to their partner on a physical level, and they're losing their confidence. Those are the common things I was seeing. I'm like, what is going on? First of all, I applaud all these men for being brave enough to open up to me, because it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, not an easy thing, because we have to put our egos to the side, because the old way of thinking of being manly is just like, I don't want to talk about it. I just have to deal with it. But when you find the right person you can open up to and you feel safe and secure and is knowledgeable in that, you should open up. Okay? So I was like, I'm seeing this pattern, and then I'm talking to the women as well, and the women are opening up and being like, I don't know what's going on with my boyfriend or husband, right? And similar stories. So I'm hearing it from both ends. I'm like, something's going on, something's out of whack. So that's why I dove into this topic of men's health, and I created a whole program called Men of Vitality based on it. And that's why I want to bring up all these topics. So it's absolutely incredible. Like 1/3 of men are infertile. 1/3 of men on this planet are infertile. That is unheard of. I posted a stat about a month ago. It was the average 22-year-old, okay, in the year 2020 has the equivalent testosterone levels of a 67-year-old back in 2000.
Oh, wow. And
okay.
Sorry to jump in, but why would it be like that?
So yeah, that's the question, right? So it's like, why were those men feeling all these things? Why, when I started doing, like, looking deeper into this subject, is that happening? Great question. So it's like, okay, what I found is numerous things. Okay. So when you look at the food we eat, right, we are not even eating real food. Okay. Majority of the time we are bombarded with pesticides and hormones and things like that. Okay. So the body is going to react a certain way, right? The majority of people are eating ill. So there's tons of preservatives, tons of antibiotics in the meat. And it's interesting. I remember years ago, I met it was on the same day. This is so interesting. People of two different cultures, but had the same belief system. One man was Jewish, another man was Rastafarian. Okay, and they told me this belief, how they believe they inherit the spirit of the animal. Okay,
Mhm.
I was like, huh, that's an interesting theory. When you think scientifically, it's like if that animal lived a very stressful life, you're essentially eating stress on a plate.
Mm.
Okay.
Mm.
Never mind all the hormones that were pumped into it and the antibiotics, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. If that animal wasn't grazing, eating what it normally is supposed to eat, and living its life the way it's supposed to, it lived a very stressful life. It was trapped. It was probably away from its family, and it knew it was going to die eventually.
Mhm.
Okay? So essentially, what happens? You're eating stress on a plate because it was pumped. It was pumping its own hormones of stress throughout its lifetime. So here's the other problem. So now you're eating those type of foods, okay,
Mm.
plus the
Mhm.
fake foods, blah, blah, blah. What happens? Your stress, your hormones are completely out of whack. Your stress levels are through the roof. Our lifestyle, especially in North America, I can't speak about other places, but North
Mhm.
America is such a fast pace for the most part. So all this type of stress, your body's in fight and flight constantly. No animal on this planet is meant to be in fight and flight for that long. So there is consequences to be in that state. Okay.
Mm.
So when you're
Mhm.
adding the state of mind plus the food we're eating, then let's add chemicals. You know, we're using household cleaners that are full of chemicals. If you're using that on a daily or at least once a week thoroughly, okay, and now especially with everything that's going on, we're probably using it more often, right? Because we're cleaning all our door handles, and which is understandable. It's great. I'm not saying that. But if we use different options, so it's not harmful to us, would be more ideal. But most people don't know that. They just trust it, right? Oh, I'm going to use this Windex and Comet
Mhm.
and all this kind of jazz, right? It is throwing your whole system off. So when you add all these type of chemicals, poor food, fake food, because most people are eating more processed foods.
Mhm.
Okay, if
Mhm.
you think about it, you go to your supermarket, probably 90% of what's there didn't exist 100 years ago.
Mhm.
Think
Mhm.
about that. That is
Mhm.
wild. 90% of the food that are in your supermarket right now did not exist 100 years
I
ago.
can believe that. Yeah.
That's
Yeah. There's a
wild.
lot of canned things, a lot of, yeah, processed. Yeah.
A lot of processed things. So, and then here's the tricky part. When a lot of people eat quote unquote healthy, but if they're not eating organic, okay, the thing is it's still going to be causing havoc because they're still
Mm.
dealing with the
Mhm.
hormones and all that kind of stuff, right? And the
Mm.
pesticides on the fruits and vegetables, right? So there was a pesticide that was approved, I think, a couple years ago from the States that when tested on frogs, it made male frogs into female frogs.
Mm.
Okay, so this is why you're having one of the issues here where men's testosterone levels are just plummeting. So you have food, you have toxins, external toxins, right?
Mhm.
Our waters have fluoride. Fluoride, they say calcifies your teeth, but it makes your teeth stronger in your bones. But essentially, it calcifies your pineal gland, and your pineal gland is a
Mm.
big part of what helps you release hormones. It's going to throw you off. So
Mm.
for me, in my program, I talk about how it's important to get a filtration system and drink quality water,
Okay.
right?
Mhm.
Um, and even like the shower heads, we shower in it, we bathe in it. So even though we may be drinking good water, like if you have a filter for your water system to drink, but you don't,
Filter that.
yeah, if you're bathing in it, it's still going through your skin.
Mm.
So I think people need to understand that too. So you have poor food, you have poor water, you have external factors in terms of like chemicals everywhere, and again, almost impossible to avoid, right? Um,
Mhm.
we wear colognes and perfumes and all that stuff. We have to be careful what we put on our skin and our body. We just don't think about it, and these all can be endocrine disruptors. Okay,
Mhm.
our food, especially in North America, lacks nourishment. Okay, our soils are depleted here.
Mm.
So if you're not supplementizing, then you're not, even if you're eating healthy, you're not getting what you need,
Mm.
right? So we
Mm.
lack, especially more minerals than vitamins. We lack minerals massively. And minerals are the gateway to open up our DNA to reach higher levels of consciousness and higher levels of health. which a lot of people don't know.
Mm.
And of course,
Mhm.
you need to get quality stuff, right? And there's tons of different companies that I wouldn't say tons. There's very few, but it's not like, oh, you have to get this company stuff. I don't believe that. There's some various companies that are very good, and I have a couple clients that do their, the multi-level marketing companies that are good, and I send them their way. I'm like, hey, go to that person, and
Mhm.
supporting local, right? Local people, right?
Yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah.
important at this time, right?
Mhm.
So vitamins, minerals, very important. Very quality food, vitamins, minerals, quality water. Super important in order to create optimal health. Now, here's the next thing: quality thoughts. Right? If you don't have control of your mind, the mind's a great servant, terrible master. If you do not have control of your mind, you're in trouble. You're in big trouble. And your body's just responding to your mind. It's a reflection of your mind, especially your subconscious mind.
Right.
And what a lot of people don't understand is that subconsciously you're programmed from conception, they say, to 7 years old. And we're being programmed every day, but that's where the primary stuff is. So you have your culture, religion, your life experiences. You might even have past life stuff, if you believe that, embedded in you. You have genetic stuff, which I call hereditary miasm, which is things passed on genetically. And you're carrying all this in your cells on a cellular level, okay? And it's stored in your subconscious mind. Your outside world and your body will be a reflection of what you've been programmed, whether you know that or not. This is why it's so important, and why I teach this stuff in my coaching programs. Because if you can learn to take control of your mind and learn what you have to do in this physical world, what to avoid, what to do, your health will change. That is a fact. Everything, and not just your physical health, your emotional health, your mental health, your spiritual health. And we need, especially like we're talking to men here, they're most likely watching this, but we need strong men. We need men at their optimal level on all levels. Because if we have that, that benefits everybody, right? A strong man, an optimal man, meaning optimal level of health, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically, is the backbone of a family. It's the backbone of a relationship. The men should lead in a relationship. That's what men are meant to lead, protect, and provide. That is at the root what men should be doing. Okay, that doesn't mean women can't lead. It doesn't mean, like, I'm talking about whoever's in their masculine, whoever recognizes themselves in their masculine, because that's another thing that I want to be clear on. That's super important, and men should flourish in that and take that as a gift, because that's what we're meant to do, right? But in order to have a great romantic relationship, you need to be at your optimal level. In order to have a great family, to be that great father figure, you need to be at your optimal level. You need to be able to lead and provide and be able to shift from your powerful masculine energy to your feminine when your children need to be coddled. Or do you know what I mean? Like, there needs to be some form of a balance, but you have to understand how to connect to it. You have to understand that it exists. Right? So, and then obviously beyond the family, the work life, we need strong men in the workforce. We need strong men in society. Right? And when I say strong men, I don't mean like, Vikings and Spartans and we're gonna go out there and chop heads off. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mentally strong, emotionally strong, in control of you. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That makes sense. So here's the thing. So part of the mental part is, right now I believe masculinity is being frowned upon, like it's a negative thing, which that's not true. It's a very powerful thing. Now, masculine and feminine energy have their positive sides and the negative sides. So it's very important to understand which is which and to align yourself with that. And there's a time and place for both, right? Majority of the time, I think men naturally want to be in their masculine, right? Which is healthy, but you have to be on the positive masculine side. When I see guys of probably years past, I would say they were higher masculine energy, right? The problem is they didn't know how to control it. So that's what led to more violence and more promiscuity and those type of things. And to me, that is not positive masculine energy. that's not the new alpha male thinking, because you're not in control of you. You have sexual urges, that's okay. You think that woman's attractive, that's good. But you take that sexual energy, because I teach them how to channel their sexual energy to other aspects of their life, because it's such a powerful force, which I'll get into after. But if you have no control, then essentially you're on the animalistic side. You're not a higher level human being. You're more on the animal side of things. If that makes sense. Now, as years pass, so those guys were, had that leadership, the toughness, that ruggedness, which that was good. That's the good part. A lot of men today are on the total flip side of that. And I believe a lot of that has to do with everything I mentioned before in terms of what they're eating, what they're doing, but also the mindset of that masculinity is bad. Right? So I'll read you a post I did a couple of days ago. The average man in 2021 has breasts, does not lift, doesn't read, doesn't meditate or pray, is depressed, has anxiety, is stressed, feels he has no outlet to communicate. That's a big one for me, which is unfortunate. And I'll go back to that after. Does not appreciate his body and mind, not connected to his purpose, lacks discipline, watches pornography, is addicted, masturbates daily, struggles with their erections, issues lasting in the bedroom, can't attract women or men, whatever they're into, plays video games all day, breathes through his mouth, which I'll tell you what that means after, eats poorly, genetically modified organisms, drinks more coffee or alcohol versus quality water, lacks awareness, pinched off from source, disconnected from God, universe, Allah, whatever
their spiritual beliefs are. Yeah,
whatever their beliefs are. That is the average man in 2021. And I see that and I'm like, no, I can't. I will do my part to help lift men who want to be the best version of themselves. That is part of my purpose.
Yeah. That's, it's powerful because you spoke on a lot of things. You mentioned what we consume. You mentioned what we take in. You mentioned what's on our skin. And so you're saying this is all like you do with your men's vitality, right? That's what you're, this is what you do.
Men of Vitality.
Men of Vitality. Sorry. Okay, perfect. And it's about men's health. It's about the overall well-being of a man. It's about, being spiritually okay, physically okay, emotionally okay. And that's what you're all about. You're not just about the physical, you're just trying to make sure that the person's whole.
Yes, 100%. That's perfectly put.
And then you make sure that, and you tackle everything. You tackle from what is going inside, orally, to what's going inside mentally.
Absolutely. Because we are blessed with the two greatest gifts, which is our body and our mind. The problem is we don't appreciate it. We take it for granted. And we feed our minds poorly because we are just kind of watching TV aimlessly and I get it. I totally get it. We have very busy lives. By the time you get home, especially if you have a family, you have stuff to do around the house, the kids, you have, communication with your partner. By the time you put your kids to bed, you have nothing left. You have nothing left. So guess what? You want to veg out and watch that funny TV show or that drama or that football game or hockey game, whatever it is that you like, right? And it might be your form of quality time with your partner that you get to kind of cuddle and just, talk about your day quickly and then watch some show and just kind of disconnect from your reality. There's nothing wrong with that to an extent. My issue is we do that way too much. We're not taking time to better ourselves in that time. Right? Like that list I just threw you off. How many people read? Right? How many people are choosing to feed their mind quality things? Because we're talking about feeding our bodies quality things. What about our mind? But we're aimlessly allowing ourselves to be programmed by media, whether it's TV or social media. And again, depending who you follow, you choose who you follow on social media.
Right.
We also choose what you watch. But if you're being told throughout the day that, you're not pretty enough, or you're not strong enough, you're not manly enough unless you use Axe spray, or unless you wear those type of jeans or that type of shirt, or it's silly stuff, but we're not even aware of it because we're allowing that programming to come in, and it's forcing us to think a certain way, which makes us better customers, and that's how they make money. If people were, because you're going to be brainwashed either way. You're either going to choose to brainwash yourself and brainwash yourself with connecting to the person you need to become in order to achieve what you need to achieve on this planet. You get to choose that. Or you can openly allow yourself to be brainwashed by someone else. And most of the time when you're being brainwashed by someone else, it's going to keep you on a lower vibration. Because a lot of people don't understand, we're being put in a situation where we're either staying here or dropping. And there's so many ways to keep us away from reaching our optimal self, right? A higher vibrational version of ourselves. If you're watching hours of TV, there's no way you can get that level. It's going to keep you here or lower. Alcohol will keep you there or lower. Pharmaceutical drugs, and again, I'm not against pharmaceutical drugs. There's a time and place for them. Do I think it's the first option? No, but there's time and place for them. But if you're on, because eventually you get on one, it's going to give you two other problems, even though it might be helping one. And it becomes a slippery slope, because now I've seen more 20-year-olds people in their 20s, at least on one or two medications. By the time that person's in their 40s, they're going to be on at least 8 to 10, if not more. And to me, it's like, okay, and I guess certain cases you do need them, and I'm totally okay with that. That's where the pharmaceuticals are okay. But other than that, no, that should not be the first option. So it's so important to understand like these type of things, and recognize what you have to do and what you feed your body and what you feed your mind. So important. And again, following suit. If you're just watching and just giving up your mind to whatever, and your body, if you're just feeding your body, because it feels good to go out and eat things, guess what? The results are not going to go well. Right? Like, you're probably going to be overweight. You're probably going to have hormonal imbalances, right? And if you have hormonal imbalances, it's going to affect every aspect of your life. You're going to be moody. You're not going to feel good. You're not going to feel confident. You're probably going to put extra weight on. So it's going to be tough on your spine. It's going to compress your organs. Okay. Your libido is going to be little to gone. It's going to affect your romantic relationships. Your sleep's going to eventually be poor, right? And your skin will be affected. Everything gets affected. It's a trickle effect, right? And eventually you will pay for it financially over time. Because a lot of people are like, I don't want to buy that water system, or organic so expensive, or those vitamins and minerals are so expensive. I keep on hearing these excuses, but then I'm like, okay, for example, so someone brought me Starbucks, right? And let's say I'm sure a lot of people drink Tim Hortons or Starbucks or whatever their thing is, right? How much are you spending on coffee in a day? Or how much are you spending eating out? So I have a couple of my clients who work at Tim Hortons, and they tell me the average person, at least in my area, spends at least $10 a day. So $10 a day, that means probably around $300 on coffee or like donuts or whatever they're getting. You're telling me $300 couldn't be pushed to a good
water system? Yeah.
A good water system? And again, I understand like things are not cheap. So it's like, okay, I can't expect you to like go all out and change everything at once, because that's a recipe for failure. Like with my clients, I give them all the information, but I say, let's focus on one thing at a time.
Right.
Maybe the water system first. It might be, let's change our meal plan. Let's give up one thing. And you do it for a couple months. When it eventually becomes a habit, then let's move on to the next thing. If you try to overwhelm somebody with all this information that we're kind of talking about now, they'll just get to a point where they don't even want to bother.
Yeah. No, you're right. And then they shut down, and then they just don't do it. And then in fact, it actually they become worse sometimes
Yes.
because they go the opposite way of where you were trying to take them. So
Absolutely.
what I'm getting is you're talking about being
Yes.
intentional about our well-being,
Yep.
our health,
Absolutely.
our mind, what we consume with our eyes, with our ears, with our mouth, and just being intentional so that we can have better relationships, live a better lifestyle, have more energy, right? And and then overall with men, this is for men, not like the masculinity would improve and they'd feel better
Absolutely.
about themselves.
Absolutely. Like again, what you feed your mind is a big thing here, right? Like if you're being told being masculine is bad,
Mm-hmm,
then you're gonna frown upon that. You're gonna be like, well, I don't want to do that because it's bad. Again, you gotta be
mm-hmm,
careful what you feed your mind, right?
mm-hmm,
And understand there's a narrative there that a lot of people don't want men to be strong again, right?
mm-hmm.
Because it's a lot easier to control people when there's weaker men. I'll put it that way, if that makes sense. It's a lot easier to control society when there's weaker men. Because if men have again, when we were talking about a 22-year-old man has the equivalent of a 67-year-old man's testosterone levels back in 2000, we're talking a drastic drop here. So when you have that low of testosterone as a man, you're not going to resist a lot of things. You'll be
Mm-hmm.
easily manipulated, easily controlled, and weak. You can't lead. And
Right.
I tell guys this, especially when it comes to relationships. 80% of men want to be in their masculine. 80% of women, I'll say people, wants to be in their feminine. Okay, 80% of people, men ideally, right, want to be in their masculine. 80% of women want to be in their feminine. When they connect, you must learn how to be in your masculine and stay there. And women need to learn how to be in their feminine. With society today, they're teaching women to be more like men, right? There's positive to that. Women, I love that women are educated and can make their own money and they don't need men. That's beautiful. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a time and place for them to be in their masculine as well. So I'll give you an example. I have a client. When she's in the corporate world, she needs to be in her masculine. She needs to kick it into gear, and she does. She dominates. She's amazing, and I'm so proud of her. Issue is she doesn't know how to shut it off when she comes home.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and because her man doesn't know how to connect his masculine at a higher level, it causes friction. Even though they have a great connection, they love each other. That's not the issue. The issue is the energy is not aligning. And when you don't know how to do it, and you don't even know that exists, that's a major issue you're going to deal with. And that could be a game breaker when everything else is so aligned, which would, to me, is sad, actually. Very sad. So I've coached them, and it's like, okay, you need to shift. You need to embrace the beautiful feminine energy you have. And even though you're being kind and caring as a man and this, that, you need to lead and be strong for her and not fold under the pressure. Because when she sees you like that, the feminine will not trust the masculine. And if the feminine doesn't trust the masculine, she has to kick in her masculine energy and feel like she has to lead and take over, even though she wants to be led by the masculine, even though she doesn't need to.
So it's kind of like, so you're at work, a female is at work all the time, leading, in control, wants to come home and be like, I don't want to have to be in control. You're in our relationship, I would like you to lead, but if the man doesn't have what it takes to lead, she's the one now who has to now still lead at home, which can get exhausting, which then probably causes, like you said, friction in the relationship, causes a relationship to break up. And that's where the mentality is, well, I can do bad by myself. I don't need this man because I control things at work. I will control things at home. But I think, would we say maybe a man could be feeling intimidated?
He can feel it. Yeah, he could. It's because he doesn't have the proper program. He doesn't understand how things work. That's the only reason. And again, it's a lot of that's on a subconscious level as well. Like subconsciously, her feminine energy is seeing that the masculine energy can't lead. So she's like, screw that. For survival, I will take over. Right. And then she takes over, and now she's become bitter, subconsciously, not consciously. It's like, then that, like you said, that thinking kicks in. It's like, I don't even need it. What's the point of this guy being here?
Right. Right.
Right. And is turned off.
Mm.
So it's going to affect their intimate relationship as
Mhm.
well.
Mhm.
Because she's not going to be turned on from a weaker
Yeah.
man.
Mhm.
That's just the
Mhm.
reality.
Mhm. Mhm. No, you're right. And I've seen that, like, I do therapy. So I've seen
Yeah.
that in therapy where, then the relationship breaks down. There's no intimacy for years and all this. And it's like, why am I even in this relationship still? Like, why, where's it's not going anywhere. And like
Yeah.
and sometimes the men from their perspective, they will explain some of these things. Well, she does this or she takes over or whatever, whatever. But yeah, what have they done to bring up their energy level, to bring up their masculinity to be able to have a better relationship. And so
Absolutely.
this is what your program is all about.
All
Okay.
about, like, we cover everything. I cover topics like from signs and symptoms,
Mm-hmm.
possible causes. We just covered a couple of them there.
Mm-hmm.
On this call.
Mm-hmm.
I talk about sleep. I talk about water. I talk about nutrition. I talk about macronutrients. I talk about body fat. I talk about male pattern baldness. I talk about the metaphysical in terms of chakras, and I talk about how to heal each of the main ones for hormone production,
Mm-hmm.
from yoga poses to crystals. I even have that in there. I have
Okay.
essential oils. I have everything. I have a workout plan in there, from videos to showing the form, showing everything. We talk
Mm-hmm.
about masturbation. We talk about sex. We talk about romantic relationships. We talk about self-image. We talk about the mind and spirituality. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a vast things that I cover in this whole thing. And then I do coaching once a week. If they have any questions, I cover all sorts of topics on that to go further and deeper into it, and how those things relate into those group of men's personal lives as individuals.
Okay, great. So I got a couple more questions for you.
Sure.
So the terms alpha male and man up are viewed as negative now. And I think you kind of covered that, but maybe if you can just go a little bit more into it. And why are they viewed as negative now?
Great question. Okay. So the term alpha male, and someone posted on our thing that we posted here.
Sports and Men 360 page. Yeah.
Yes, they posted.
Mhm.
And first of all, I appreciate the comment because it was actually a very intelligent view. So I liked it, and I liked the other person. I agreed with him, because first of all, everyone's allowed to have their own opinion. I know today's society, everyone's so like very sensitive. Like, I'm not that person at all. It's like
Mhm, mhm, mhm.
he might watch this and totally still disagree with me, and that's okay. He's entitled to that. That's the beautiful thing about a country like Canada. You know what I mean? Like, you have your free will to
Mhm.
have your own opinion, and that's a good thing. That's a healthy thing. Where I educated him on alpha male, he is right. The definition is there's one predominant male, and he's better than others. In the animal kingdom, that is true. The new alpha male to me means that, and then like I mentioned earlier, is that you are better than the man you were yesterday. You are the better version of yourself, and you want to get better. The only person you're competing with is you, right? And because
Mhm.
amateurs compete, higher level human beings create. So the person you should only be competing with is yourself. That's the new alpha male. And that's what
Mm.
I'm teaching in that program. So that's why, to me, when I use that phrase alpha male, it gets kind of, that's why I say the new alpha male. That's the key part, or the modern
Mm.
alpha male,
Mhm.
right? And because that's what I think is, we are beyond, it's stepping away from just being the animal part of us, because we are animals at the end of the day, but it's stepping up to the next level beyond the animal part of us, right? Reaching a different level of consciousness. That's
Mhm.
what I'm
Mhm.
talking about. That's the new alpha male. Guys taking pride in their masculine energy because they're gifted that masculine energy. Guys taking control of their sexual energy, which is the most powerful energy, most motivating energy, and can change your life if you know how to channel it. Not just in your romantic relationships, but other aspects of your life. Very
Mm.
important. And it's important to connect to these things and understand the beauty and the power of it, and start to take control of that gift and make yourself the best version of you. That's so important. But if you don't even know that it even exists, then you can't do that. Now, the term man up, again, I've talked about this on other things, platforms, and I've talked about it with other coaches that I know. And it's very interesting. A lot of people look at that as very negative. And I think it's interesting because it's all perspective, right? I come from a sports background. So you were always challenged. I might not have liked that I heard that, but I took it personal and took it to the next level. So a lot of people have an athlete mindset or a military mindset, have that thinking. Now, in today's world, a lot more people are very sensitive, and to me, overly sensitive, in my opinion. But they have a right to feel what they feel, and that's okay. So to man up, I don't think that's a bad term. It doesn't mean not to feel. And I think that's how people take it. It's like, oh, that person doesn't honor my feelings. He's telling me to man up, or my wife is telling me to man up, and blah, blah, or my parents, or whoever it is that's telling you. To me, man up means to step into your greatness that you have within you. Everything you need is within you. You just need to learn to tap into it. That's what it means to me. So when I redefine that for other people, they're like, wow, you're right. Because it doesn't belittle you, because you have it in you. You just haven't tapped into it. And I'm just reminding you, you need to tap into it. Because it doesn't just benefit you, it benefits everyone around you. Like I mentioned earlier, you manning up and being the best version of you will benefit your wife or your girlfriend. It will benefit your children. It will benefit your family, your coworkers, your community, this world. This world needs all of us to be at a higher vibration. And we can only do that if we're working on ourselves first. Start inside out. And once we start doing that, this, not only your internal, or not just your internal world or your external world, but the planet itself will change if we're all doing this together.
Okay, so when you use the word the new alpha male and the term man up, you're just talking about challenging yourself to be the best version of yourself.
Absolutely.
To continuously check in with yourself and compete against yourself, to rise up to the occasion and be the best person you can be on this planet while you're at it.
Yeah, you have one shot in this form, from what I understand. You might come back as something else, if depending on your belief system, but you're not going to remember it anyways. So you might as well enjoy the blessing, because I tell people you're a spirit having a human experience, right? You're an individualization of this consciousness, right? And you're having this experience in this 3D reality through this body and your five senses. If you're lucky enough to have a body and five senses and you're here now, you should be understanding that you're blessed. That's how you should see it. And you should amplify the opportunity tenfold by enjoying the experience. And you're only going to enjoy the experience if you're in the present and understand how your body works and your mind works, and to optimize it at its finest. You might not know how to do that, but you need to connect to people like myself or other people who teach these type of things. It's super important.
Right. Thank you. So we touched earlier on the decline in men's health. What else would you say has contributed to the drastic decline in the last 30 years or so? Is there anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I think it's basically kind of what I said in terms of like the type of food we're eating, the quality of water, and I would even say like, so quality of thoughts, what we're being programmed to think. And I would even add electromagnetic fields, cell phones, Wi-Fi, those type of things. I tell people, like, shut your Wi-Fi off. Don't use your phone as, an alarm, those type of things. You can't avoid electromagnetic fields, but you can diminish your contact with them, right? So you can wear like bracelets or necklaces that help attract EMFs to the bracelet or necklace. But I'm in a building, my workplace now, we have EMFs flying here. We have Wi-Fi. Unless you're going to be underground, you can't avoid it. But at least if you can diminish and do your best to diminish it, and up your minerals to at least help your genes and your DNA heal, because it does affect us on a deeper level.
Okay. No, and that's good, because you didn't touch on that earlier. So that's good to know. There's another reason for why.
Okay.
So Can you just tell us more about, I feel like this is kind of what you've been saying all along, and I'm sorry if the question seems a bit redundant, but
No,
so
no.
if let's say if I was to be a man and I was to come in and I say I need something from you, Walter, how would you help me in your through your profession, through your services?
Yeah, so depending on the cases, right? Like, if it's because I do so many modalities, so there's just so many different
Mm-hmm.
ways, right? So let's
Okay.
say a man's just feeling completely off on all aspects. I would
Okay.
highly suggest he did my Men of Vitality program.
Okay.
Um, if it was just more like the mindset, I might
Mm-hmm.
even shift him to I have another program, a mindfulness program called Mind, Body, and Soul.
Okay.
And our sessions, I call it the mental gym, and that essentially, because again, 77% of suicides are men.
Mm.
And again, that's because we don't know how things work. Like I mentioned earlier, we feel, not necessarily we feel like we don't have an outlet to reach out to. Okay, that's a dangerous place to be.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so in my Mind, Body, and Soul program, the main things I teach is how the mind works and how to learn to take control of it, who we are as human beings, our connection to source, and the universal laws. In a nutshell, that's just a nutshell of what the program's about.
Mm-hmm.
When you learn these and actually amplify that and connect that into your life, which is
Mm-hmm.
how I kind of teach it, you will change as a human being. You will start to connect to the higher version of yourself, and the manifestations that will start to happen, not just in physical health, but other aspects of your life, will amplify. You'll be in a state of abundance. So that's how, maybe if it was just a mindset strictly thing, maybe I'd shift the men to that program. But if it's overall, like, their physical health's out of whack, their mental, emotional's out of whack, their spiritual, their relationships, etc., I'd probably shift them more to my Men of Vitality program.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So like you mentioned, there are different programs, different modalities, depending on what the needs are. You would figure out and tailor your programs for a person's need.
Yeah, so because even the other modalities, when I do one-on-one, it's like I've helped 26 couples conceive through
Okay.
one was through acupuncture, like needles,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and 25 of them were through BIE, which is bioenergetic intolerance elimination. So BIE is basically based on quantum physics, traditional Chinese medicine. And what I do is I muscle test to figure out what's out of balance in the person's body, whether it's hormonal, emotional, environmental, or digestive. Whatever's out of whack, I resend those frequencies back in the body through acupuncture points. Their body will recognize and rebalance itself out.
Mm.
So it's awesome. It's super cool.
I've heard of this, and I actually know a friend who went through something similar, female though.
Yep.
She was able to conceive, and she talked about something about her core was cold or it needed to be warm, and she couldn't drink cold
Yep.
drinks or take cold food. Is this what it is?
That's
That's
Chinese
part of it?
medicine. So I do have some of
Mhm.
that, but the
Okay.
BIE is more like your body doesn't recognize certain frequencies for
Hmm.
whatever reason. And that's a whole
Okay.
different conversation. Okay.
Hmm.
So I recognize what frequencies it does not recognize. When I send the
Hmm.
frequencies it does not recognize back in the body through acupuncture points. So remember, acupuncture is based on 12 meridians that correspond with your organs. Meridians are like energy highways that run along the body you can't see to the naked eye, but they're there. And what flows through them is your chi energy, which is life force energy in English. So when I send the frequency through the acupuncture point, which is like an entrance in the hot energy highway, like a
Okay.
Wells line, Walker's line type of thing, it travels through the meridian into your cells, and your cells are reading the barcode. Oh, I know what testosterone is. I know what anger is, or whatever vibration frequency I've sent through the body. It will start to recalibrate itself because our bodies can heal themselves. They're incredible machines that are gifted with the power of healing itself and strong
Mhm.
immune systems, but it just needs a little guidance and help. Once
Okay.
it gets an opportunity to recalibrate, it'll start to heal itself, and then it becomes more optimal to procreate.
To perform. Okay.
Yeah,
So is this men you've done this to or female as well? In
men
terms of
and
the
women.
fertility and
Yeah,
female.
men and women.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I've
Okay.
helped
So
women with menopause, men with low testosterone,
mhm.
women with like PMS, menstrual issues, menstrual cycle issues, things like that.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, so we are, we're getting close to the end of our show, and you've touched on the comment that I had mentioned from the Facebook, and then I got one more question. So, how can an ordinary man implement or follow this new concept of the new alpha male?
That's a great question. I think is the best way. Obviously, it's a lot easier if you do my program, if I can plug that. But beyond that and what it's all about, anyways, is really identifying what you want in this life in all aspects. Start to figure out what is it that you actually desire. Once you have that crystal clear and you're connected to your purpose on this planet, it doesn't have to be career-wise. It can be you being the best dad you can be. It can be being the best husband or being the best version of you, whatever that looks like to you. Cool. But you have to know that's the goal. And once you know what the crystal clear goal is, then who's the man you have to become to get it? And you start working on all the aspects of that, your mindset, your spirituality, your physical, your emotional. They all kind of intertwine. You can't deny one of them because it'll throw everything out of balance.
You have to do it.
Right. And if you can do that and do the work, because you have to get uncomfortable. The problem is we get too comfortable. Where there's comfortability, there's death in my eyes. Because you're either growing or dying. And I see it way too often where not just in everyday life, but it's like, okay, we live life like it's a checklist, right? Okay, I got to finish school, check. I got to, get a job, got it, check. Oh, I got to, date somebody. Okay, got her, check. Yeah, we got to get married, check. Oh, we got to have kids, check. And let's go on vacation, check. And you got to get your home. You got to get some material things that we like. Cool. And you do it. And then you think, wow, I'm still miserable. Because you're disconnected because you thought you had to do a checklist and that's what would make you happy. There's nothing wrong with any of those things. If that's what you desire for you, good. But you need to learn how to be happy just with you. Because all those things can be taken away. Right?
No,
The
you're
true
right.
happiness is within you. And once you connect to you and the higher version of you and have a decent understanding of how things work and who you are as a human being and your connection to source, nothing could stop you.
That's
Right?
powerful.
So it's super important to know that you are beyond this flesh suit that you're living in this lifetime. You are more than that.
Wow. Thank you so much, Walter. So I just want to make sure I capture that. Basically, you're saying like we have this checklist of life that we go through, and we think if we do all that, we're going to be okay, we're going to be happy. But there is more to life than that because that's just the thing that everybody tries to achieve. But there is a greater purpose, and we ought to strive for more and try to recognize and find out who we really are and live to our optimal best, is what you're
Absolutely.
telling me
Absolutely.
and telling the audience.
Yeah, that's perfect. Because if you do align yourself, once you figure out what your goal is and your purpose, and you connect to that purpose, now let's who do you have to become to get it? And whoever that man is, you get to create him. This is just a big play we call life. So you get to be the director and the writer, but do you want to be the star? Or do you want to be the tree in the background? And in order to be the star, you have to hit all those levels and try to reach optimal connection to them mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically.
Awesome. Thank you, because I feel like I'm kind of on that journey myself right now, trying to rediscover myself and trying to see, what more is there? I feel like I've achieved a lot of those things, but I'm like, what more is there to life? And what more can I do? I know I'm capable and I know I have a lot in me still left to give. And I believe I have a lot of life left. So how do I become that? And so this resonates very well with me. And I really want to thank you. So I do believe we have some questions from the audience.
Sure.
I can't read those questions, but Sivam, if maybe hold on one second.
No, there are questions, but Vic, do you have any questions?
Or comments, yeah.
Vic? All right. So
I'm sure we might get comments after. So
oh, here it is. What is a core belief that allows you to do what you do?
Okay. What is my core belief? Well, it's a good question. So I don't know if I have like a core belief. My belief is that we are all God and goddesses walking on this planet because we're connected to source. And we are here to expand our consciousness and learn the lessons we need to learn. And in the process, help others in their journey as well. And understanding that clearly makes life way more fun to live, way more interesting, and way more purposeful. So that'd be my core belief, I guess.
Okay, and then I have how do you feel, or what do you see once you've achieved your outcome?
Sorry, what was the question?
How do you feel, or what do you see once you have achieved your outcome?
Okay, so I feel totally I don't know, I feel successful. I feel happy. I feel proud. I feel almost this like contentment, love. I feel so many different things because it's so aligned with my purpose, like why I'm here. I know why I'm here. That's not even a question. So when I see in whatever modality I do, whether it's more like the massage, and I see somebody heal, from a low back injury and they're back to work and they're happy. If it's acupuncture and I, helped somebody with a rotator cuff injury or help that couple conceive. If it's BIE and I'm helping people with emotional or hormonal or environmental issues. If it's coaching and I see people go from like suicidal thoughts to stepping into their greatness and loving themselves unconditionally and sharing that love with the world and sharing their gifts with the world, because we need these people at their optimal level. We do. This world needs everybody at their best. So it just connects me to my purpose, and I feel happy. I feel all those things I mentioned earlier. So
that's great. So I'm not sure if we have any questions from Facebook or YouTube, Sivam.
No, we don't have anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Walter, for taking your time to expand on your what you do for men's health, men's well-being, and the masculinity. We really appreciate you taking your time. I believe I've learned a lot, and I'm sure our audience has too.
Awesome. I appreciate you guys for having me and allowing me to share my message and doing what I'm meant to do. So thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you. And so I'm just going to wrap up our weekly webinar. So there's just a few more announcements to say. We do have 4 live shows weekly. We have Open Up, where people share their personal life journey. And it's a live talk show where it's every Sunday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So this week, we're going to have an individual that's going to be talking about his suicide survival journey story. And how an individual helping others the last 30 years. So please don't miss this. This is going to be tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. And we also have Voice of Men 360 will also be participating in the Canadian edition of the Global Day of Love and Oneness with the Global Dialogue Foundation. So there'll be a live event and we will be participating in that from 2 to 2:30 p.m. tomorrow. So that's Sunday, February 14th. So please join us. And you can get more information for how to log in. That is available on our Facebook page. And then we also have our weekly webinar, which is what you're part of today from 10:30 a.m. to 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we also have Billy, which is our, it's a Tamil talk show, sharing your personal life journey. So it's a Tamil live talk show on Wednesdays at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then Sundays at 8 a.m. for Eastern Standard Time for people who live outside of Canada. And we also have a panel discussion that takes place once a month in English and Tamil. And then we also have a podcast for Open Up in English, which you can just log into and participate at your own convenience. And we recently started a monthly men's group meeting. We did our first one in January, and we will be doing another one next week, the 21st, which I believe is next week, Sunday. So the first Sunday of every month, and it's from 7 to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And so please register and share. We will be having a lot of fun on there. We did our first one. I was part of that. It was really good times. And tonight we will be celebrating our Black History Month from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So please join us for that too. There'll be a variety of performances like singing, reading poetry, speeches, playing traditional instruments, and more. And so please come and celebrate Black History Month. And we want to do this to create awareness about the challenges, the struggles, and the issues faced by our Black boys and men in our society. Okay, so there are no limitations with gender, age, nationality, or ethnic groups. All walks of life can participate in any of our shows. And if you want to be a guest on any of our shows or willing to be part of our organization and help us directly or indirectly, please reach out to us. We would love to work with you, with individuals, professionals, experts, community organizations, associations, corporations, government officials, and businesses. Our phone number is 437-889-8329. That's 437-889-8329. And our email address is info@voiceofmen360.org. That's info@voiceofmen360.org. And our website is www.voiceofmen360.org. And you can also find us on our Facebook group page. We do have a Facebook page, and it's Voice of Men 360. And we have Instagram, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Twitter, and we're on YouTube. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Voice of Men 360. We just want to reach out to as many people as we can to help deal and tackle boys and men's issues. So please continue to support us. Thank you, and we will see you next time. Take care.